When texturing art for games, it's very common to want to create custom mask channels that aren't supported in Substance Painter by default. There's all kinds of reasons that you could want to do this. A couple common ones are setting up tint masks, where you can use them to hue shift different parts of your mesh. Other use cases is in special effect shaders, so doing things like a fuzz mask. I have an example that I was working on recently here. There's all kinds of ways that you could use this. I've used them to mask off areas where I want to add detail normals as well, so that kind of thing can be helpful too. So when you're working on a single one-off portfolio piece, you may be tempted to do something like this by hand in Photoshop, and while you can do that, when you're working on a full game production and you have dozens or even hundreds of assets, you really don't want to be manually building each one of these things. So thankfully, Substance Painter has some really great tools to build these a lot easier. Let's get into it. So in this example, I'm going to show how I set up a fuzz mask for this druid character that I'm working on. But this process is essentially identical to any kind of mask that you would want to set up. We're going to go into the texture settings. We're going to hit this little plus to add a user channel and go into, we'll pick the top one here. You could take any of these. We'll go with user 0. We will change the name to fuzz, texture type. You could also set it to, if you wanted a color mask similar to the red, green, blue used for a tint mask, you could set this to sRGB and you could add in a color there. We only want black and white, so we're going to do the 8-bit. All right, so now if we go back to our textures, let's grab our base fill and we'll set the texture channel to fuzz so we can see what's going on here. So we've got our base fill on this character. The file is recomputing here, so I'll wait a second to let that finish. Okay, so in this base fill layer, you can see up here that I now have this fuzz alongside my other default channels. So if I toggle this on, suddenly we're starting to get something showing up here. By default, I want this to be black, so there will be 0 fuzz throughout this whole texture set. This is the full texture set here. We'll hide the other objects for the moment. So what I can do is I can go into my base cloth. We'll do the red cloth first. I'm going to grab the very bottom layer. I'm going to turn on the fuzz. It should be white by default. The texture will take a second to update as Substance thinks. Okay, so Substance is done with its processing of stuff. We can turn it on for the green mask as well, the green cloth as well. And suddenly we have a mask set up for all of our cloth that's isolating that from everything else. However, something that's cool about doing this in Substance and keeping all of your masks and your texture files all living together in the same file is that you can let these masks be affected by other layers that you have in your textures. So, for example, this cloth has a dirt splatter layer on top of it. So I could take this and I could turn the fuzz mask on for that and set it to black. And then suddenly, you can see down here, the dirt is going to hide part of that softened cloth mask, and it's going to help contrast the fuzz with the like wet mud effect that's on the cloth. So we'll turn that on for the main part of the shirt as well. Set that to black. And there we go. Now we have a lot more detail and kind of interest in the mask that will add more depth to the textures when we bring this into Unreal. Okay, so if we take this and we go and export our textures, nothing's going to happen. We're not going to get these masks. So what we have to do is go into our export textures settings. We'll go into our output templates, and I am going to just create a copy of the Unreal Engine packed. We'll make a duplicate of that. And we'll call this Unreal Engine Fuzz. We can add, so these are the output maps that we have by default. So we have our base color here, we've got our occlusion, roughness, and metallic, we've got our normal map, and we've got an emissive. What we're going to do is add in a new gray channel. And this is going to create a whole new output map for us. And we can scroll over here in the input maps down to user 0 and just drag that right in to the grayscale. And we'll For brevity's sake, we'll copy one of these naming conventions. We'll change emissive to fuzz. And there we go. Okay, so once we've got our output template, if we go back to our settings here, we turn on the outfit because we want that those textures. We go to our global settings and we can grab, we'll go to our desktop and grab, we'll make a new folder called fuzz test. And we'll export everything into there. We will grab our output template, Unreal Engine fuzz, and we hit export. Now when we pull up our fuzz test folder, we have this map here with that mask all ready to go. We can import this into our game engine of choice and it should work. So that is how to set up custom user channels in Substance Painter. So that just about wraps things up here. Try this out on your next project. If this was helpful and you'd like to see more things like this, let me know by dropping a like. Follow along for future videos. If there are any game art topics you'd like to see me break down in the future, let me know in the comments.